As the year 2022 comes to a close, I wanted to show off my favorite top 20 action figures and collectibles that I reviewed for 2022. Now, to avoid any confusion, these are not the best figures I think for 2022. These are my favorite action figures and collectibles that I reviewed for the year 2022. And if I've reviewed it in 2022, there's a most likely chance that they were released in 2022. Now, they may be released, some of them might have been released in 2021, or some of them are still yet to be released in 2023 in other parts of the world. But here in Asia, these figures were released in 2022. And those are the ones I picked out to be my top 20 favorites. Okay, now these two figures, unfortunately, they did not make the list because, well, for the simple reason that I haven't reviewed them. And they've been released out here in Manila at tail end of 2022, in December of 2022, and they look to be great. So let me know in the comment section how excited you guys are to see me review these figures, or you just want to go with you just want me to stick with the Transformers reviews, and I'll just put these guys on the back burner. But they look great. I was kind of hoping I could review them before the year ended, but it's just been a busy year end for me. So they're going to be out in 2023, my review. Hopefully, do let me know if you guys want to see them out sooner. So with that, let's get started. In at number 20 is the most powerful man in the universe, HeMan. I mean, this guy has just so much nostalgia, and I think it's a little bit biased to have him on the list. It's one of those rare occasions I do a review on a Mattel figure, but I could not resist this figure. This figure just reminded me so much of my childhood. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe were my go-to action figures before I even went to G.I. Joes and Transformers and GoBots and whatnot. He-Man was one of the first things I collected when I was a kid, and I absolutely love how this figure came out. It brought back so many memories. And I am just trying my best to just stay away from collecting this line, but who knows what 2023 might bring. Really love this figure, the 40th anniversary of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, He-Man in the 7-inch scale figure. At number 19, we have the number 70 armor Iron Man from Marvel Legends. I've always been an Iron Man fan, and this has got to be my favorite Iron Man figure for the year. I absolutely love how this figure came out, and I cannot wait to get my hands on the announced Extremis Armor Iron Man, which is coming out in 2023. I think Hasbro has constantly been trying to improve themselves, especially in the Marvel Legends line, and this is testimony to that. I've not completely quit the Marvel Legends line, and it looks like I'm going to be sucked again because of those X-Men figures, but this is definitely one of my favorites for the year. I really love this Iron Man number 70 armor. At number 18, we have the Tyrant, the Merciless Lord G-Axis. You know what? This figure just absolutely blew me away. I honestly dismissed this figure to be one of the worst figures for the year, but it definitely surprised me. I love how this figure came out. Engineering wise, if you've seen my review, you know how much I praised Hasbro for this figure, because this is one of the best Voyager class figures in the Legacy line for this year. And even if you're not a big fan of the comic books, you've never heard of this figure, of this character for that matter, I think you owe it to yourself to pick up this figure if you're a big fan of the Legacy line and Generations Transformers, because this figure will absolutely blow you away. Hasbro did a really good number on this figure. I really liked it. The Transformers Legacy Voyager class in the comic book universe, G-Axis. In at number 17, we have the former Sith apprentice in the Clone Wars, Darth Maul. This was his Clone Wars appearance with his new cybernetic legs, reunited with his brother. They reconstructed his lightsaber. I thought this was one of the best figures for 2022 in the Black Series line. I absolutely, thoroughly enjoyed this figure. The main highlight of this figure, apart from his really cool lightsaber, is his fantastic, terrific looking, brand new head sculpt. The horns were so much more accurate on this one. The expression was just absolutely menacing and terrifying. Darth Maul has always been one of my favorite villains in the Star Wars mythology, and this figure just blew me away. The Black Series from the Clone Wars, Darth Maul. At number 16, we have from Legacy Evolution, we have Deluxe Class Needlenose with his Target Masters. And again, this is one of those figures that really surprised me in this upcoming Legacy Evolution line. I had dismissed this figure as probably one of the more mediocre figures in the line and in the wave, and he turned out to be the best figure in the entire Deluxe Class wave. This figure just, I thought, was a stellar version of Needlenose. There's so much G1 attributes to him, and yet they've given a modern take on the articulation, on the transformation. The Target Masters could use some work, but it looks to be that this is now going to be the staple for Target Masters accessories with these legacy figures. But this figure was completely, thoroughly enjoyable. I was really surprised at how much I liked this figure. The Transformers Legacy Evolution, Deluxe Class, Needlenose, and his Target Masters. At number 15, from the Black Series, we have ObiWan Kenobi from the series Kenobi on Disney+. Both these figures share the same mold, so I'm putting them together. We've got the Wandering Jedi and at the Tibidon Station, ObiWan Kenobi. Oh my goodness, these are probably the best Kenobi figures we've had in the Black Series line. Hasbro's really done well with the re-engineering of their action figures, particularly the Black Series. The paint apps on these figures were on point, articulations were amazing, the design, the detail were spot on to the show. These are my favorite Kenobi figures, and I'm just so excited about them. I cannot wait to see more of that series. I do hope we get a season 2. It doesn't look like it, but I really enjoyed the show, and I enjoy these figures so much more. The Black Series ObiWan Kenobi. At number 14, we have from the Bumblebee movie Studio Series Deluxe Class Ratchet and Ironhide. Both these figures make a countdown at the same number because they're the exact same mold with different head sculpts, and I had already all but quit and resigned myself from the Studio Series movie figures simply because I just gotten frustrated with the way things were going with that line. But these two figures, I believe, have brought me back, brought a little bit of faith in me for the Studio Series movie figures. These two figures had just amazing articulation, great realistic details to how they appeared in the movie. And I just love how Hasbro and Takara Tomy have designed these figures. The Studio Series Deluxe Class from the Bumblebee movie Ratchet and Ironhide. At number 13, we have the Daimio of Tatooine, Boba Fett from the Book of Boba Fett. This figure was absolutely amazing. It's so gorgeous, fantastic detail. It was incredibly difficult to find here in Manila. I had to purchase this figure in Singapore at a very good price, if I may add, from Robo, but I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed this figure because he had just so much details that were accurate to the show. I love the show personally. I mean, not a lot of people like the show, but I really like the show and had so much more incentive to get this figure because of the show. I thought Hasbro really nailed it with this figure. This is the Black Series from the series The Book of Boba Fett on Disney+. We've got Boba Fett. At number 12, from the Beast Wars series, we have our Generations version of Tarantulas. Oh my goodness. I mean, if you weren't into Beast Wars and you're still on the fence of whether to get the Kingdom and the Legacy figures of the Beast Wars characters, man, I'm going to tell you this. You are seriously missing out if you have not picked up Tarantulas. I think Tarantulas is probably the best Beast Wars inspired Generations figure for 2022. I guess the Predacon Inferno might come in close. There's a lot of very good Beast Wars figures for the Generations line, and I think he's the best simply because Hasbro and Takara Tomy just finally understood the fans, and they've given us what we needed, what we wanted all this time. And the Beast Wars figures for the Generations line have really shaped up to be one of the best, at least sublines in the Generations line. And Tarantulas, I think, is the best. Just thoroughly enjoyed this figure. He's got amazing details, amazing engineering, just a fantastic figure overall. The Transformers Legacy Deluxe class, Predacon Tarantulas. And rounding up the top half of our countdown of favorite figures for 2022, at number 11, we've got the Studio Series from the movie Bumblebee. We've got Deluxe Class RC. And this figure has been touted to be one of the best, if not the best, Deluxe Class RC figure, official RC figure we've had from Hasbro and Takara Tomy. And rightly so. The design was just absolutely impeccable. I love the engineering. I love how she came out. I mean, we never really got a chance to see her alt mode in the movie, but Hasbro and Takara Tomy really, really nailed it by giving us a fantastic Cybertronian vehicle mode for this figure, and just an amazing, amazing sculpt in robot mode. I absolutely love this one. The Transformers Studio Series from the movie Bumblebee. We've got Deluxe Class RC. And kicking things off with our top 10, we've got at number 10 from the Black Series, Ahsoka Tano. If you don't know it by now, Ahsoka Tano is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Star Wars character of all time, next to Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. I mean, we've seen her in The Mandalorian, and I was, just a lot of nostalgia, because I was a big fan of the Clone Wars, and to see her in live action was just truly, truly amazing. Thank you to the team of The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. This character is absolutely one of my favorite. I think Rosario Dawson did a stellar job and just portraying this character. Now, these are the two versions of The Mandalorian Ahsoka Tano that we've seen on the shows. And both figures are amazing. If you want to get the one with a cloak to have a more complete figure, you need to pick up the 3-pack with Din Djarin and Grogu. But just having the single packed one is enough, I think, in my opinion, because the figure just came out great. It was sculpted beautifully, great accessories, the details are amazing, articulations fantastic. I love this figure. The Star Wars, the Black Series from the show The Mandalorian, we have Ahsoka Tano. And tied for the 9th spot, these two figures make it in the countdown. They're in the same spot because I thought both of them are amazing, and they came out right about the same time. I picked up these two figures from Singapore. They've been released at the tail end of 2022 in December. I absolutely love these two figures. We have the Transformers Legacy Evolution Voyager class Tarn from the comic book universe. And we have the Maximal Leo Prime, or in the anime, Transformers anime universe, Leo Convoy. I mean, these figures just came in at the right time. It was a great way to cap 2022 for me. They're not exactly super perfect, but I thought they were amazing renditions of these characters. Leo Prime, or Leo Convoy, was just my first legit version of this figure, as well as Tarn. Tarn may have some issues with me, particularly being a little bit too thin, but I thought both figures were engineered amazingly. I mean, if we do see them 5 years down the line, 6 years down the line, being redone in better ways, sure. But for now, I thought these were the best versions of these characters, officially legit figures and collectibles from Hasbro and Takara Tomy. From Transformers The Legacy Evolution line, Voyager class Tarn and Leo Prime. Coming in at number 8, we have a third-party product. We have the New Age metallic version of David. Now, this is the Legend scaled or core class scale, I think more Legend scaled version of these G1 characters from New Age. And this one is just masterpiece level engineering done in the Legends scale. Truly, it could be a masterpiece. I was completely blown away by this figure. I am just hating myself right now for coming in late into the game for New Age figures. I could have easily pre-ordered the one with the trailer, but I am happy with this metallic version. Maybe down the line I'll get the trailer. I thought this figure was just absolutely engineered perfectly, and Hasbro can really take a page from the Book of New Age and how they do their designs for Transformers, because this figure screams masterpiece in such a diminutive scale. I mean, if they can do it in this scale, there's no stopping Hasbro from doing it in a bigger scale What a fantastic figure. New Ages, G1 styled, masterpiece engineered, legend scaled Optimus Prime. We've got the metallic version of David. In at number 7, we have the Marvel Legends retro carded SpiderMan symbiote SpiderMan. Oh my goodness. You know, growing up as a kid, the black suited Spider-Man was one of my favorite versions of Peter Parker in the Marvel comics, and to have him now in the 1/12 scale from the Marvel Legends was just an absolute treat. I mean, I even had the old Secret Wars figure. I don't even know where it is right now, but I had it when I was a kid. I just fell in love with this character, and I think this is one of the best Spider-Man figures that Hasbro's come up in the Marvel Legends line. I am excited about this figure, and I'm even more excited with the upcoming VHS symbiote Spider-Man with Carnage. That figure is going to be absolute bonkers, I think, because it's got the new buck. This one uses the old buck, but still, definitely an amazing Spider-Man figure. If you have not picked up this figure, I'm pretty sure some stores have restocked them. Here in Manila, I distinctly recall Phil Bars restocking on this figure late December 2022. So if you get a chance, visit that store, go ask them if they still have stock, because this figure was one of the more difficult figures to acquire in 2022. Just so glad to have him. The Marvel Legends retro carded Spider-Man symbiote Spider-Man. At number 6, we have the Studio Series 86 Voyager class Ironhide. Now, people are complaining about this figure that he should be a deluxe, but they turned him into a Voyager, and Hasbro reasoned out that they had to put a lot more engineering to it, and the price point of a deluxe was just not enough to deliver on this figure, so they made him into a Voyager. And you know what? I think they nailed it. He has some color issue with 3 different kinds of red, but the engineering, the design, the sculpt was absolutely spot on this figure. I just couldn't believe it that we've gotten finally a G1 styled, very, very accurate design of Ironhide as how he appeared in the cartoon and in the 1986 movie. I really enjoyed this figure, and I'm even more excited to get the Ratchet repaint that we'll get hopefully in 2023. The Studio Series 86 Voyager class Ironhide. And starting off our top 5, at number 5, we have the G.I. Joe Classified Series Storm Shadow. Oh my goodness, this figure. It is an absolutely amazing figure. Definitely one of the must-haves if you're in the Classified Series line. This is the only figure to make it to my countdown. And growing up as a kid, watching the show, watching the cartoon, Storm Shadow was my all-time favorite Cobra. I mean, I even had the old vintage 80s action figure, and I got the update, the one with the hood. I got all the Storm Shadow vintage figures way back when I was growing up as a kid. Now they're all gone. So to have this figure actually physically present is just such a treat. It takes me back to my childhood, and I love how they designed this figure. I love the modern approach, and yet retaining a lot of the classic elements of the character. The G.I. Joe Classified Series Storm Shadow. At number 4, the figure that was responsible for sucking me back into the Marvel Legends line, particularly the X-Men mythology, we have the Marvel Legends VHS retro packaging of X-Men the Animated Series Cyclops. I cannot gush enough about this figure, because this figure just took me back to my high school when I was still collecting Marvel comics, a lot of Marvel comics, particularly the X-Men, X-Factor, X-Force. You know what I'm talking about if you grew up during this period. And this figure was just one of my absolute favorites. This character, Scott Summers as Cyclops, was one of my all-time favorite X-Men characters reading the comic books. And this is by far the most perfect version of the Jim Lee 90s Cyclops from the Marvel Legends line. They did such amazing engineering on the straps, some great articulation on this figure, the detail. I mean, I was lucky to find a second one, because if you remember my first review of this figure, the head sculpt was a little bit wonky with the visor and all that. This one, it came out great. So happy to have this figure in my collection. The Marvel Legends VHS X-Men Animated Series retro packaging of Cyclops. And at number 3, the bronze medal taken by this Marvel Legends Renew Your Vows, SpiderMan. I absolutely loved this figure. He comes in a 2-pack with Mary Jane as Spinneret. I think Hasbro has the best version of the Peter Parker Spider-Man for the Marvel Legends line. Now, some might argue that the Amazing Fantasy buck of Spider-Man might be better, but I really just love this figure. This figure just takes me back to Marvel Comics' Spider-Man, and the technology they used for this figure, pinless joints, fantastic articulation. They even got toe articulation. They've got the drop down ball joints. They've got all sorts of articulation to the torso. The paint apps for those spider webbing on his costume was just absolutely on point. This is the perfect Marvel Legends Spider-Man figure for me. And I mean, if you have not picked up this figure and you're a big Spider-Man fan, my goodness, you are severely missing out. I would highly recommend you get this figure. If there's one Spider-Man figure to pick up in 2022, this is it. The Marvel Legends Renew Your Vows 2-pack Peter Parker Spider-Man. At number 2, we have the Transformers Legacy Menasor. Now, all these figures individually, Motormaster Breakdown, Wild Rider, Dragstrip, and Dead End, well, some might argue they're not the best. But in combined mode, I think this is the best Menasor we've had. I mean, Hasbro took a shot at Menasor with the Combiner Wars Menasor. That was pretty good. Don't take anything away from that combined mode, those set of figures. But I think if you're a big G1 fan and you collect the Generations Transformers, this has got to be the best version of Menasor we've had. I think even better and surpasses that Combiner Wars version. It gives so much G1 vibes. They put a lot of engineering into providing that, to giving us cartoon accurate and to a certain extent toy accurate likeness of this combined mode to the ones we grew up with in the 80s. Now, having said that, I'm seriously considering getting the DNA upgrade kit for this set. I've not pre-ordered it, which kind of thinking now in retrospect could be a big mistake, because a lot of people are really just waiting in anticipation to get that upgrade kit. So best of luck to me looking for that set on retail. But suffice to say, this figure deserves the silver medal in our countdown. We've got the Transformers Legacy, the combined mode of the Stunticons, Menasor. And finally, the gold medal at the top spot, number 1, goes to a third-party product, Optimus Prime. We have Magic Square's Light of Peace. If you haven't seen my video review of this figure, I'm going to tell you that this figure just took me back to my childhood. I never got an Optimus Prime growing up, and this figure just has all the 80s vibe. All the vibes of the cartoon. He looks so much how he looked like on the show. The transformation, the engineering was, I think, in my opinion, way better than what Takara Tomy could ever come up with in their Masterpiece line. This is truly a masterpiece Optimus Prime figure that only third-party companies could actually do. And I've seen a lot of third-party companies do their take on the G1 Optimus Prime, and you know, in my own opinion, I think this has got to be the best in terms of aesthetic, in terms of engineering, scale, just overall design. I absolutely love this figure, and he's the winner, top spot of our countdown of our top 20 favorite figures for 2022. We've got Magic Square's A Light of Peace. And that concludes our countdown of my top 20 favorite action figures and collectibles that I reviewed for the year 2022. Do let me know in the comment section what you think of my top 20. Was there any action figure, collectible, Transformers, Marvel Legends, Classified Series, or Black Series figure that I reviewed that you think should have made it to the countdown? Let me know in the comment section. 2023 marks my 14th year on YouTube of doing these reviews, since I started with the FX France channel and then moved on to the Chefatron channel. And I just wanted to thank every single one of you who's really stuck it out with me, who's really put up with my videos, who's really supported my content on YouTube. I mean, with all the hate out there, it's nice to know that there are still some of you who really appreciate what I do. And it is because of that I enter 2023 with some renewed vigor and inspiration to really do more of these kinds of videos for you guys. Past couple years, I was a little bit at a loss of where I was taking this hobby of doing reviews and collecting action figures. But a lot of you have given me some great advice on how to deal with this hobby and essentially reviewing stuff on YouTube. So I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for your support. And like I always say, I never take anything for granted. I never take this for granted. You guys are the best. Thank you. Just so much heartfelt thanks to everybody who supported me in my journey since I started reviewing on FX Friends. One last thing I want to pay this is like me paying it forward. I don't know this guy. I don't know him personally. I stumbled across his account on Instagram, and if you're familiar with him, he is called The Lethal Collector. Now, some of you might know him, maybe subscribe or follow him on Instagram, but I stumbled on him by accident, and by golly, this guy can pose his figures. I mean, in my own humble opinion, I thought I was one of the best posers of action figures, but when I saw this guy pose his figures, it made me realize that I'm such an amateur. I got nothing on this guy. It's like I suck compared to this guy. This guy is professional level, like, oh my goodness, Galactus level posing when he poses his action figures. It's just amazing. He's such a treat to watch. He's called The Lethal Collector on Instagram. I checked him on YouTube, and I know he doesn't post as much content, but he's really on Instagram. And oh my God, my favorite are his SpiderMan figures when he poses the SpiderMan and Avenger figures. Man, this guy is absolutely amazing. Oh, look at this. This has got to be my favorite when he posed the Mayfex. I think this is the Mayfex symbiote Spider-Man. Man, come on. And it made me realize that I got to step up my game in posing action figures. And he kind of gave me a little bit of a renewed excitement for 2023 of, just trying to pose these figures, get him in the best possible light for you guys. And, just check out his channel. He's called The Lethal Collector on Instagram. Just an amazing, talented person in terms of posing action figures. All right, and with that, I'd like to wish everybody a belated, happy holidays. And if you're here in Manila or you celebrate Christmas, a very merry, happy Christmas to all of you, and a bountiful, prosperous New Year. Maligayang Pasko sa inyo at mapagpala, manigong bagong taon in this coming 2023. Thank you again for your support, and here's looking to an even amazing 2023. Thanks for watching.